guess it's compounded by the 47th team to go to Old Trafford in the Premier League and have a player sent off, but the first to actually go down to 10 and win. When you look at Manchester United's overall performance, it wasn't great from the start, but was there also a failure to adapt to going against 10?
Yeah, I think this is a bad night for the manager, in that we've spoken about the manager a lot, as you do with the Manchester United manager, one of the biggest clubs in Wales football. But everyone in the game, managers and players and supporters, know you can lose games of football. It can happen. But when the situation arose where, OK, 10 men, Everton get a goal, credit to them, but there was an awful long time left in that game. So I think everybody's eyes are almost looking at the manager. You could hear Gary a lot in commentary speaking about, OK, what's the change he's going to make? What players he's going to bring on? Is he going to stick with his system? You know, we speak about managers, and I've said this before. Ruben Amorim feels like the first manager who I've seen who sticks with a system rather than an idea of how to play. So, you know, I use you, Roberto, as a reference. I always know how your teams will play with the ball. That's your idea. The formation's his baby. And to not change it or alter it in situations like that, I don't understand how you can stick with one guy up front who's not really up front. You don't need three players there. If you're going to keep with your system, maybe put midfield players there. You know, we see other managers do that. Maybe you bring a centre-back off and put a midfield player there because you're going to have so much more of the ball, so much more of possession. So I actually think it's not the losing the 3 points tonight. They can make that up through the season. I think it's one of those moments where I think a lot of people will really question the manager on the back of that defeat. They'll look at the players, and we know the players should do better. But the manager will take a lot of the blame for tonight. I
suppose one thing you could say is there's a lack of attacking options. We talked about this in the studio. He had Mason Mount to bring on, which he did at half-time. But beyond that, there wasn't another forward player with the injuries that they've got at this moment. And David Moyes said as well before the game, they also had injuries, and we have to accept that. But what's your interpretation of what we saw, particularly in that second half?
Well, I saw a team that until the last second they tried and they I think the first half was a surprise for everybody. I think the first half, probably we didn't expect Everton to spend 6 minutes in the opposite half. The initial 6 minutes was a real shock. And I don't know if that's belief. I don't know if that's the way that you wanted to go at Old Trafford. But I think Ruben Amorim shows a real frustrating side, because he felt that after the run of form that they had, it would have been a different start. I think in the second half, there are not many options that he has. Obviously, he wants to stick with his system. So he wants to, what we're seeing is that he's trying to perfection that system. For that, you need to bring the right players for that system. You got Cunha, Šeško, two important players that they came in the transfer window. There is a moment that, as a manager, you need to decide to use your players to win games, or you stick to become perfect at your system and the way you want to play. And I think we know that Ruben Amorim wants to work in that respect. Now Manchester United is in a position that they go one game a week. There's no in European competition. Today, Ruben Amorim will get a lot of information of his own solutions, but the reality is that the team carried on until the last second. Probably the best chances came in the last 5-10 minutes, as you would expect. You're playing against 10 men, the space is open, but it wasn't a lack of attitude from the team or a lack of intention from the players. It was a little bit more frustration and more playing with a heart rather than with a head.
I mean, we look at some of the chances here. I wouldn't call them huge chances. I think the XG for Manchester United was about just over 1.71. Now that's obviously a high number, but as I said, you're against 10 men, and maybe that comes from accumulating so many shots.
I think it was, Jamie, because it was 25 shots, and that was actually the biggest chance on the XG, but that was still under 0.2, even that one.
Exactly, so there was a lot of shots, but there wasn't really a lot. I mean, that was an absolutely wonderful, it's a great header, and that was absolutely outstanding from Jordan Pickford. It was excellent in the game. I mean, Roberto, you know this probably better than anyone. When you go down to 10 men, I always feel it doesn't necessarily mean it's easier to score because everyone just goes behind the ball. But it was interesting, Ruben Amorim mentioned we didn't even stop the counter. They needed to be higher and connected more with the players. It was almost like they passed the ball and they stayed back. And that's maybe where midfield players in those positions would have supported more. And that's why it was just a little bit strange staying with the three defenders for so long.
The two wide players, Grealish and Gueye. Should we be talking more about this guy as well?
Absolutely, and I think is one aspect that he was talking about the fans. Everton is a demanding club. When you arrive as a player, straight away you need to have real strong character to be able to show what you can bring. And I think he's come in with a lot of big confidence. He's very assured of himself. Obviously, when you get the way that David Moyes is building this team, you got real threat in the wide areas, is when you pick the right time to penetrate through the central pockets. And he does that like anybody. Then off the ball, he's got the grit, he's got this understanding. He really gives an extra dimension to this Everton side. You can see here the goal is so clever to find the space. Look at Jamie.
That's where we see him there, Roberto. What I think's really interesting here on the goal is we talk about how positive Everton were. Don't forget, this is with 10 men. But Dewsbury Hall's position actually changed with 10 men. He was actually went more to a central midfield position, but again he finds himself ahead of the ball and actually behind Manchester United's 2 central midfield players between the lines, and that would have been the plan before the game, but maybe not necessarily when they went down to 10 men.
I think it's using that intelligence. Obviously, you need to do an hybrid role. Off the ball, you need to get the 2 banks of 4. Here, this is such an intelligent position. I'm sure that Ruben Amorim will be just questioning the lack of communication between, you're looking at the centre-half, Yoro, with all the 3 centre-halves against 1 player. You would like somebody to step in. But from Kiernan's point of view, to be able to turn, this is something that we don't appreciate enough in football and parts of coaching. Look at the position, he's totally back to play, he turns around, he's aware, perfect scanning, he knows where his teammate is, he knows where the opposition is, and that skill of being able to turn in one move, technically, is very, very...
Is that in, I wouldn't say the modern game, but for players especially who want to find themselves between the lines scanning, we hear that a lot now, and with coaches and younger players over these last few years, how important that is, and understanding where you are and that you can turn and you're not going to turn into trouble and lose possession.
Scanning is a big part of the game. It gives you information, but the hardest scanning is the moment that you are back to play and you're going to receive the ball. As the ball is travelling from James Garner there, he's got all the information, and that allows him now to turn. The decision for him to turn or to play back is taking the chance away. He can receive with the back foot. Now he knows that he's got 1-6 next to him, and he's got the 2 centre-halves. Straight away, that scanning, that information allows you to almost straight away, this is my direction of the next move. When normally the easiest thing is when you're back to play, it would be just to keep the ball and play in front of you, and you don't break anything.
I just wanted to look, listen, we're looking at this from Everton's point of view, and I get that. But I just wanted to, if I can just take this back, I don't think Larry Yoro covers himself in glory. And I always try and defend young centre-backs. I've been there, you're still learning the game, you make mistakes and you can get punished. But when we're talking about him scanning there, Roberto, when you play in a back 3, I think it gives you a licence to go and step in. Don't forget, Everton are only playing with 1 striker. Now, the ball bypasses the 2 central midfield players. We've said that a lot, probably over this season at times. Casemiro and Bruno. Bruno's really attacking. Casemiro maybe at times lacks a little bit of pace. He has to jump. He has to go. He has to go in there, Roberto. He has to make sure he can't turn.
It's the communication. So we're talking about from the 3rd centre-half. Remember that Luke Shaw here is the 3rd centre-half. That should be straight away the 3 centre-half shuffling across, and that would allow Yoro to go. It's very difficult to take that in your own will, to make your own decision that I'm going to jump. Obviously, that needs to be a decision that is synced by the 3 centre-halves. And that's the strength of the 3 centre-halves. You can really be, when the team's, Dewsbury Hall, with 11 men, he was the 2nd striker. So clearly here, you can really be aggressive and take the risk and jump out.
He should also do a lot better in the 1v1 as well. He should do better there.
Probably.
We mentioned the goalkeeper at half-time, but I just think...
Well, for anyone who's just joining us now, do you think the goalkeeper should be doing better here?
I think he's very unlucky. At this moment, we cannot see it here. He doesn't see the ball. And then it's just a reaction. I know that Sane is a young boy. I had him in the camp. Here, he can easily step onto the left, but he just makes a little jump the moment that he doesn't see the ball. At the moment that he wants to react, it's too late, and he's just reacting to try to get where the ball is. I think it's a bit of a surprise. When Dewsbury Hall turns, Yoro will expect to be going into his left foot. The moment that he turns and he goes into the inside, is a very unlucky moment for the goalkeeper not to be able to see the total
Kieran
direction.
Dewsbury Hall told us he didn't know he had it in his locker, so he's got no chance.
Well, it has now.
Has he? A goal worthy of winning the game. Here is David Moyes with Pete Mullen's scene.
David, congratulations. Just talk us through how proud you are of that performance tonight.
Well, incredibly proud of the players and the supporters here today because we've had so many encounters here where we've not got a result. We've come close a lot of times but not quite been able to go over the line. But tonight, incredibly, we got over the line with 10 men, which was probably the hardest way to get a good result here.
Just talk me through your feelings when that full-time whistle went.
Well, I felt actually for all the supporters who had made the journey, and obviously for long parts of the game we had to just sort of sit in and defend. I thought we started the game brilliantly well, passed the ball well, looked quite comfortable in lots of things we were doing, and then we got the sending off, which meant the sort of game changed. But you know, the resilience and the toughness behind the scenes at Everton's really good, and the players had to show that tonight.
Is that the most pleasing part of tonight, the way that your side reacted to what did happen early on?
Well, look, to go down to 10 men here outside, look, let's be fair, Manchester United are in pretty good form at the moment and playing much better. So it was never going to be an easy game for us tonight with 11 players. But to do it with 10 was an incredible job by the players. Fantastic. But good goalkeeping, good resilience defensively when we needed it. Boys were brave enough to try and take the ball at the right moment. Certainly in the first half. Second half was much harder. But overall, you know, it'd be very hard to fault them for how they played tonight. They were so good.
There were two big moments really at the start. The fact that you lost your captain, Seamus Coleman. First of all, how is he?
But I was surprised because Seamus has played a few games, but it's just felt a nick in his hamstring. So that was it, and that happened very quickly. So that was a disruption to us as well. And then obviously the sending off as well. So those things happen in football. You have to cope with them. It's not easy at times to cope with them, especially losing a player. They're losing a player through a sending off. But look, the players done a brilliant job tonight in making sure that we got something from the game.
What did you make of what happened with the red card? Because we don't see that very often.
No, we don't, and I'm surprised. I think if nothing happened, I don't think MD in the stadium would have been surprised. I thought the referee could have maybe taken a little bit longer to think about it. Maybe just going over and sorted it, had a think about it. I'm sort of getting told the rules of the game means if you slap even your own player or you lift an arm in some way, then you could be in trouble. But you know, there's another side of it. I quite like my players fighting each other, and you know, getting annoyed with each other because it was a bad ball or someone didn't do the right action. I think that's part of it. If you want a winning team and you want that resilience and the toughness which got us the result, then I think you have to have players who are going to act that way. And I'm disappointed we get the sending off, but everybody will tell you, we've all been footballers, and the ones who have been will tell you that quite often, you know, you'll get angry with your teammates.
Have you spoken to Idrissa Gueye, and has he spoken to Michael Keane as well afterwards?
He's apologised in the dressing room for the sending off. He's praised the players incredibly for their performance tonight and thanked them for it. And as I said, he's apologised for what happened.
There was the winning moment with Kieran Dewsbury Hall's goal. Just talk us through it, how you saw it, because it was a fantastic strike and he's been playing brilliantly recently.
He has been, and his goal was you know, what we hoped from him, and he's been a bit unlucky maybe not to hit a couple more this season, but took his goal really well. He's been a big help to us as a team and helped us improve in many ways. So I'm pleased for him because he works really hard, a good solid professional, and he's come in and helped us.
We know Thomas Tuchel was watching on as well, but Jordan Pickford made some incredible saves tonight, don't you think?
Jordan made brilliant saves. He really did, 3 or 4 really good saves. But look, he would have probably had to do that with 11. But I also thought the likes of Jamie Carragher played very well, and Kieran Dewsbury Hall. So we've got a few English players, and hopefully he'll keep his eye on them.
David, thank you very much for your time. Well done tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty happy, David Moyes, and why not? Only the second manager in 34 years from Everton to go and win at Old Trafford, the first time he's done as a visiting manager. You know how he's going to be feeling right now, Roberto, because you were the other one. So tell us.
I think you understand when you go away from home, you got this support that not many people know. Obviously, Everton has 9 league titles, and there is a real belief that the silverware should be there and the glory times. And as a manager, you feel that feeling. You want to give it back to the fans. So when that happens, today is a historic moment. When that happens, is a celebration for the full football club. And David Moyes deserves it. I think he's made the transition to leave Goodison Park and go into the new stadium, and he's done it with a real natural feel, without losing the strength of Goodison Park, and then opening a new era. And there's no better way than opening a new era with a result like that. It's a landmark in the history of Everton.
Absolutely, and it sounds like the boxing glove is going to be out at the training ground this week because he quite likes a bit of fighting amongst his team. So let's have another look then, Jamie, at this incident, which is going to be much talked about and probably would have been a lot more had Everton actually lost the game tonight.
Yeah, but what we shouldn't forget is the result for Everton and how positive Everton were before it. We just mentioned on the interview. Just keep an eye on this. This is the start of the clip, and it probably sums up why we said Everton started so well. So you've got your front four here, high up the pitch, not on the halfway line, looking to press. And then as we just roll her on and we see who comes into shot, Michael Keane, he's going in there to press. It's Mazraoui who's the wing-back, but that would have been the number 10 because he swapped position with Mbeumo here. The left-back's jumping as well. That was Everton at the start of the game. Fantastic. On the front foot, aggressive, going after Manchester United. We said that to Dewsbury Hall, but that was the only time they got caught out in that first sort of 13 minutes, really. Everton really dominated Manchester United in those first 10 or 12 minutes. Tarkowski does really well. And then, obviously, there's a mix-up here between, and that can happen. And it's just so over the top, the reaction from Idrissa Gueye. Listen, Idrissa Gueye's been a brilliant player for Everton. He's apologised, and it's one of those... I think Dewsbury Hall called it perfectly, a moment of madness.
The frustration is he's going to be banned for 3 games now,
yes,
and then he's off to probably the African Cup of Nations.
That is the frustration.
This is just a reminder for you that striking an opponent or any other person on the head or face with a hand or arm is setting off events unless the force used was negligible. And that was a decision that Tony Harrington had to make in that split second. And David Moyes said he would like to have seen the referee give himself a little bit more time to come to that verdict.
Totally.
Roberto.
I think everybody in football will love the referee to have the strength to manage the game. And we all understand it, but we need to understand the professionalism that is trying to be imposed into the education of a referee. The referee with the VAR. Now, if the referee doesn't show the red card, it would have been called by the VAR, because that's how it works. Now, with the VAR, there is not such a power for the referees to manage the game. We used to say always in the game, you want to be 11 against 11, you need the referee to manage both teams at the same level.
That little last line just make it subjective, though, Roberto, and take that away from the VAR.
It's not subjective because, nowadays, if you get called up by the VAR, and that's something that needs to change. When the VAR appeared was to correct the errors. Now the VAR should be to empower the referee. If the VAR calls the referee and the referee goes and checks and says, I've seen it, but I got my decision and I want to carry on without the red card, he cannot do it. The rules are, as a referee, if you want to get a good mark, you need to follow the rules. And unfortunately, it's just the height. So that slap from Idrissa Gueye is in the shoulder. It's not a problem. It's just above the neck. Is a red card, and the referee has to apply the rules. And I'm, as a football man, and I understand what David Moyes is saying, and Jamie said it, you would prefer the referee to manage the game and just let the standards in a way that they can play to.
So I think every club up and down this country, if they were in that situation, against them or for them, would say, just give me a yellow card, get on with the game. And manage the situation. I understand you're right, the rules are there, I get that. But Howard Webb has a phrase at times, we speak to him because we're always trying to speak to him about certain decisions, and he talks about sometimes the game doesn't want something in a certain situation. I think most people watching tonight, if that was their own team, they probably think, OK, yellow card, get the players together. Listen, behave yourselves, the 2 years, get on with the game.
So Ricardo Fuller with Stoke, and it was, of course, Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer with Newcastle United. This one this evening, only the 3rd incidence of violent conduct in their own player. Could have been more. I mean, if we look through the archives that we are...
Something's coming.
We're so lucky to have. This is Jamie the Thug Carragher. Look at this.
I didn't raise my hands.
You see, you kept it.
I'm not sure you'd have won that contest, Jamie.
2v1.
He's not backing down there.
Yeah.
Did that end peacefully?
Yeah, listen, I apologised in the dressing room after the game.
You've gone back for a bit more here.
Arbolo didn't accept it at the time. But listen...
Did he understand your English?
All's fair in love and war. And you know what? This was a fantastic night. Really disappointing without any...
The performances with the results, and they were certainly favourites to win the game tonight. And then, obviously, Everton going to 10 men, you think they're just going to kick on and win the game comfortably. But I think, as the Litz just said there, they forced too many balls. They were crossing the ball at times when they didn't need to cross it. They stayed a bit more patient and pull Everton out of position. That was a big problem for them tonight. And I would like to see them change the system. I know Luke Shaw and Lenny Yoro were stepping in and trying to add an extra player in midfield, but when you're playing against and you've got one extra player, I think having a more creative player in a natural position, naturally in there, would have made the difference. So yeah, I think Ruben Amorim and the Manchester United players will be very disappointed with tonight's performance.
Before the game, in the absence of Šeško and then Cunha, we had a deep discussion about Joshua Zirkzee. Ironically, a couple of headers, in fact, the three clear-cut chances in the second half all fell to him.
They did, and he could have scored. I can't watch him and get excited, I must admit. I mean, Cunha missing today is a big blow. He was the closest to scoring for Manchester United.
That's a hell of a save, isn't it?
It's a fantastic save, but they're almost resorting to playing like this, Manchester United, just hopeful crosses because he's in there. I mean, if you've got Cunha playing, if you've got Fernandes playing a little bit higher, if you've got a different profile of player up there, you probably don't go, and just knock crosses in all game. And of course, one or two of them landed on the button and they could have scored. Of course they could have. But it's not really how Manchester United want to play. And I always think when you start just lumping the balls in, it almost becomes desperation. And as I say, there are a couple of headers there that went close. But I ask you this, if you were Everton, if you were, David Moyes, what are the best aspects of your team? In terms of defensively, especially. I would be rubbing my hands together if someone says, right, they're going to knock the ball in when I've got Tarkowski, I've got Michael Keane, two of the best headers. They've got three of the biggest, best headers of the ball in any defence in the Premier League. And you've got Manchester United crossing the ball in every 2 minutes. As I say, one or two of them landed on Xerxes' head. But I just feel that the way Manchester United are playing at the moment prior to tonight, it's not the right profile of player. He doesn't excite me at all, does Xerxes?
And you can see how unhappy he is. And the obvious question that fans will want is, after being unbeaten in 5, and like you say, all the positive vibes, why at home against 10 men have they lacked intensity, in the manager's words?
Yeah, you don't know. I think you've had a lot of players away on the international break as well who are flying back. So you don't have the time to work with the team that much. So maybe that's a factor. But Michael knows as well, sometimes you train against 10 men and it's very difficult to break down if they're organised well and you've got everyone working. It's difficult to break them down and get the clear-cut chances if they defend well and they work hard. So I think Man United's game plan had to change as well tonight when Everton went to 10 men. So they had to change the game plan on how they played the game, and they didn't do it well enough. They didn't, as the manager said, they didn't have that intensity, and that cutting edge, I think, was missing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that team and I just think it was going so well with certain players in certain positions. And today there were some important injuries. And if it's like for like, if you're still playing in the same type of way, then I think it can sort of work. But just, Cunha's a big miss. Those players that actually take the ball, that drive, that make runs, that are positive, that take risks. We highlighted something before the game. Manchester United a year ago and Manchester United in recent games. And actually, in the first 10 minutes, straight away, you could say, oh, my word, that's what we were just showing before the game in the short clips. Xerxes up front, very, very little movement, waiting for the ball. OK, a couple landed on his head and he had a couple of efforts. But that was going back 12 months, and that's not what Manchester United need to be doing.
OK.
Feel after that performance tonight?
Really frustrated. There's like any other person that supports Manchester United today in this stadium, you should be frustrated the way we start the game, the way we didn't understand that against 10 men, the way we should play, and they deserve to win. The way even suffering was not there, and today they were better.
What did you want to see then when you saw that Everton went down to 10? What were you expecting from your team?
Expected, especially right away long possessions to push the opponent to control transitions. We didn't control transitions even with 10 men. We decided the play really fast, sometimes with a long space for them to win a second ball so the understanding of every situation of the game was not there. And then the quality near the box, but most important is the intensity. You can feel right away when we start the game in the first minute. We can feel when we are at the top level in intensity, and when we are not, and then we cannot win games in this way.
With the form that you were in before the international break, has this performance surprised you?
Of course, but I said in many occasions that I understand that we have a lot to do. I have that feeling, but of course I'm really frustrated the way we play the game, especially in our home, especially understanding what happened during this week with the other clubs, looking at the table, feeling everything, in the way we present, especially in the first minute of the game, is really frustrating.
Does it feel like it's a big opportunity missed then tonight?
Yeah, but this is more than that. We need to play the game in a different way. Sometimes we can do it. Sometimes we can have good runs of results and performance. But then we drop the level, and that is something that we need to win with time.
When you look at the goal that went against you, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's goal for Everton, is there anything that you look at and you think that Manchester United could have done better in that sense?
Everything. It's hard. I don't want to point anything specifically. We didn't play as a team well. We didn't understand the game, and we were going with the flow of the game, and that is my biggest concern.
Ruben, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
See you soon.
What's after that game?
I think they were the better team with 11 players or 10, and I felt since the first minute that we were not there with the same intensity. So they deserve the win.
What was missing from your team this evening, do you feel?
The way to face the game, to understand that the other team help us with the send-off. What we need to do in every single moment of the game. If they have 10, let's push the opponent to the final third, to be near any transition, to be focused, really to be focused in the game.
In the second half, you had plenty of the ball, you had plenty of chances, but couldn't put them away. Did you feel as though you just needed something to drop in the back of the net? But when you did have a good effort, Pickford was in fine form, wasn't he?
Yeah, that can happen, but I think they look for the luck, and they deserve it. We need to do more.
You've been in good nick up until tonight, 5 games unbeaten. So does this feel like it's a big step backwards?
Yes, especially in the way we play the game. Forget about the results. The results is also really bad, but I'm more concerned with the feeling that I had during the game.
What's the situation with Cunha? What was the injury? What's the problem with him?
Let's recover Cunha, and then we'll see if he'll be ready for the next game.
How pleased were you with the way that Josh Sturksey led the line this evening?
He did all right, but I think everyone should play better tonight.
Obviously, your frustration is clear to see. What kind of things have you said to your players at the end of the game then?
Nothing.